kept him, by that name, do it for the nation, because everything that he does is indeed for the nation. Most High handpicked him specifically, and all the gifts that he's bestowed upon him to do the things that he's doing to, encourage our brothers and sisters as we're in this hour, fighting for that salvation. The last Beyond the Mic installment that we did, we had the brother Jamel the Trunk Rattler on. So if you guys haven't, do yourself a just service and go ahead and check that out, as well as the other installments that we've done for the month of January. Yeah, so today we're gonna be speaking to the brother, just like any and everybody that we have on for Beyond the Mic. We like to you know, get the origin story. I'm saying? How did they get to this point? How did the Most High take them from where they were once in the world? Because none of us just automatically, come into this thing like just being on a level or whatnot, being those new creatures, right? We all have a journey, we have a story to tell, So, Cole is going to be no different in, telling us, how he came to be the young man, fervent, for the Lord, that he is, right now. So, yeah, man, I guess, my first question, bro, man, just because like I said, bro, I'm already familiar, with you, your music, stuff like
Right.
that. I mean, very, very talented, bro. I think I first came into the realization, of your music and everything that you have to offer through, I know you're familiar with them, Demon Slayer.
Yes, absolutely. For sure. That's my
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah, so he's how I was able to come into the knowledge of you. And there was Akara. Are you familiar with Akara?
Yes, yes, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Both of them. I was able to come to the realization of your existence through them two. There was always just geeking about like your music and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And when I finally like got to hear it, I was just like, man, you know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy, bro. I mean, just wise beyond years, man. Wise beyond years. So I mean, if you can, bro, for those who are, because I'm sure there are quite a bit who are familiar with your journey and whatnot, but for those who are unprivy, how did you get here? You know what I'm saying? Like, how did you get into the truth? How did the Most High call you into this thing?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on. And shout out to the brothers who, have shared the music in different aspects. And it's just beautiful to see the many various connections, that are being made through this kingdom work, so that's a blessing. But my story is, the more I look back and be like, man, the only way all these different subsets of scenarios could have turned out to me being who I am was the Most High divinely crafting it. When you watch like Marvel movies, you kind of see, like Doctor Strange, and look at all the different scenarios and how things could play out. And there's only one way, which would be the way that it is, right? And so, growing up, I grew up in the mainstream modern Christian church. Not really denominational. My family's of Haitian descent. My grandfather, on my mother's side, was a pastor, so we always had that influence of the Bible, right? But we know that anything devoid of the Spirit, and that's not to say every experience was devoid of the Spirit, but without the Spirit of truth, right? It's you can take any text and lack the actual relationship that is needed with the Most High to bear the fruit that we're called to bear. And so, grew up with a lot of traditions and etc. Um, everyone striving to live for the Most High, but again, when you lack certain understanding and knowledge, you can't necessarily apply it in the way that he intends, and our people perish for that lack of knowledge. And so I remember around 15 years old, fast forwarding a little bit, like I said, I was always familiar with Bible stories. David was in the background of, okay, I kind of know who he is, Moses, I kind of know who he is, but it's very almost like a blurry vision when I look back. And even stories I kind of summarize, but I didn't quite have a concrete understanding of exactly what it is that I was reading. And so around 15 years old, everything began to click. And that's right around that 2015, 2016 era where a lot of people say they felt a great shift of the Most High Spirit, calling them to seek Him more, which should really be the fruit of what we're doing. And so there's this brother who I don't even know, honestly, if he posts on YouTube anymore. He was used for a time, but he started going off in his doctrine, and prayerfully, he can get back. But during that time, he was putting out a lot of good videos. And so I saw actually my mom, who is, in the medical field, but she was pointing me to a video about health and how the Most High desires us to be whole. And so that led me to stumble on this brother's page, and he began talking about, pork being unclean, etc. So I continued
Right,
to go
right.
through his YouTube channel, and found the picture of what became famous about a year or so ago, the Russian icons, which depict obviously the biblical men and women, as people of melanated skin color. And of course, that's just a start, but it had a great impact on the way I began to walk with the Most High, right? We know that's not the end or be all, but it did have a great impact. And so, for whatever reason, or not whatever reason, the zeal of the Most High came upon me, and I told my mom, I'm like, Mom, like we're the Israelites, like that came, and I just made the statement, but with no knowledge to be able to provide. I just said it, and something clicked with her too. She's like, okay, yeah, I hear you, but there was, again, the knowledge wasn't there. And so from then on, something began to brood in me. And again, my grandfather, who was a pastor, and I have to say I'm blessed, right? My father, my mother, my grandfather, we don't know everything. We don't claim to know everything, but there's a sincerity there where it's like, okay, I may not know something, but let's have a discussion, because a lot of people have testimonies of people shutting them down because something's either taboo or they're not familiar. But he listened, my grandfather did, right? And so I said that, and this is one of the last few times I had time with him before he passed. Um, he prayed over me and he said, "Listen, no matter what you do, read your Bible, like read it, because we know that a lot of pastors and a lot of leaders, just in general, unfortunately, encourage people to just take word at their mouth. But he said, read the Bible for yourself, right? And I had praying parents and etc. And so in my testimony, I was a ball player. I was a basketball player. So I went to a Catholic school, private D1 basketball, private school, to play basketball. And they literally, I must say, freshman year was the only year that they did this, but they just taught the Bible. No Catholic doctrine, no insertion. It was basics. Adam to Malachi, right? And all of a
Mhm.
sudden, I'm like, remember that seed was planted that with Israelites. I'm like, oh shoot, something is burning inside my spirit now. There's a fire, and I'm hearing the story from beginning to end clearly just for what it is. And so this is as a freshman in high school. And then as a sophomore, we got into their theological points, and I was like, okay, I'm not interested in this. But I began to continue to read and I guess study for myself. And at that point, the Israelite community was really booming on YouTube, right? Not quite on Instagram and Facebook, and even the music scene wasn't quite where it is now. But a lot of elders who was teaching solid doctrine were on YouTube. So I'm gleaning and chewing the meat and spitting out the bones, so to speak, as they say. And so by the time I'm a junior, the Father has really endowed me with a lot of knowledge, but I also have a lot of pride. So now I'm thinking, okay, I got the knowledge to explain this to my family. Listen up, right? But I'm talking to my parents and my elders who I'm supposed to be honoring. And because I feel like I have a supreme knowledge, I'm not coming humbly as a child before them. And so they weren't necessarily able to receive it. And I wasn't as skilled and tactful as I thought I was. So senior year, uh, I finally came out on Instagram, right? That's when I created Do It for the Nation going into the summer of senior year of high school. And I'm like, you know what? I got these gifts and talents. And by the way, I saw the brother Durak Ibar who started rapping, because I started getting this information. And of course, we know the scriptures tell us, the times and seasons. We don't know them, right? And so I'm thinking, man, I'm trying to repent, learn what the word really says, because Christ could be back any day. I'm not worried about planting seeds or making music, or I'm like, I got to get right myself because he could be back soon, right?
Mhm.
That mindset
Mhm.
is not necessarily wrong, but thinking you understand the times and the seasons is ignorant. And so I saw the brother The Rock, and again, I felt the impact, and I said, okay, if the Father's giving me a talent in the parable of the talents, I got to be able to use this for the kingdom. And so, with that said, a lot of people would call me a jack of all trades. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do a podcast. I'm like, a lot of stuff now you see me implementing a little bit. I wanted to do all of that, not just burnt out. I'm like, I can't do all this. You know what I'm saying? I try to street teach. I try to, print out flyer. It was just too much. The Father said, yo, you can't do this in your own strength. So let me teach you how to do it. So I began rapping, and people knew me as Do It for the Nation with the bars. And I prayed one day. I said, Father, give me the ability, if it be according to your will, to sing and create vocals and melodies and harmonies too. And if you do that, help me to remember and not boast. Because honestly, if I'm being a book, if you heard me sing, there's some unity challenges I used to do. My voice wasn't like that. It literally was a prayer from the Most High, and He gave me wisdom and understanding on how to use my voice in a way that reaches the people. So senior year, I had humbled myself down. I believe I graduated senior year and going into my freshman year of college. That's when I dropped Dirty Rag, and you see the reflection of like this pride will get you killed spiritually and physically. And that's where I kind of came to humility. And ever since then, I've kind of been journeying to understanding, okay, it's been a growing process. Even now, a few months ago, I'm reflecting like, man, this is a level of pride. This is a level of pride. But I know I kind of went for a little bit, but kind of just trying to give a broad overview of like, this was the journey, really still in a nutshell, of how he kind of took me from where I was to, again, those that worship the Father must worship both in spirit and in truth. So you need both, and he kind of grew me in those things for me to be able to minister in the way that he's using me currently.
All praises, and I like how you ended it off there with in spirit and in truth. Because actually that was the review that I kicked off the start of season two. For the podcast with the brothers Zamaria in spirit and truth. If y'all
Wow.
haven't
Okay.
heard that, yeah, if y'all haven't heard that, do yourself a just service and go check that out. But anyways, just getting back to what you said, I mean that definitely was quite a bit to unpack there. And I just already knew just off the rip, that he was going to go through a lot of these different, avenues of, the journey and what it consisted of and whatnot. And I mean, all I can think of is just Proverbs 20:24, where it says, man's goings are of the Lord. How can a man then understand his own way? All of our steps are ordered. The Most High, he's definitely ordained you to be right where you are. And like I said, the journey is continuing on. You definitely haven't, reached the pinnacle of your potential yet. I'm saying that has yet to be discovered, but just based on, what the Most High has allowed you to do and, the people he's allowed you to reach, you've already done, quite a bit. You've already had quite the impact, you know what I mean? And everything that you are doing definitely is an embodiment of serving the Most High in spirit and in truth. But and also sorry to hear about your grandfather
Thank you.
and what have you. Yeah. And you and I, like I said, we're actually in the same boat because my parents are actually of Haitian descent as well. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Wow.
So yeah. All praises for
Absolutely.
that. Yeah. But just circling back to you, because I know you said that, and you and I, we also are similar because, just like you, me myself, I also, was raised in a household that, is definitely, godly driven, raised, going to church. I mean, oh my gosh, what I'm saying, I still sometimes, pass by, like, the neighborhood, the
Right.
church that we used to go to, because I think after a while, they stopped going there because they can no longer fund it. They didn't have the money to actually fund the building anymore. I think they're still trying to get that back, but
Okay.
it's so much. You know what I mean? To actually get it to
Yeah.
acquire the property back and whatnot. But every time I pass by there, I'm just like, sheesh, man, like memories. The time just flies, bro. Because
Yeah.
that was back in '08. You know what I'm saying? When we actually first moved to Pine Hills, from Pine Hills, Florida, because I'm actually out here in the Florida area. So when I pass by it, I'm just like, dude, where did the time go? That was back in 2008, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, bro? Like I'm 26 now,
Absolutely.
dude. Like, yeah,
Wow.
bro. It's just like that's crazy, bro. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just like, but once again, but even before then, even before '08, what I'm saying, we were always going to church and whatnot. My pops, he played the guitar and whatnot. My mom, she was a part of the choir and whatnot. So church was a must. It was not even a discussion. What I'm saying, it wasn't up for debate or what have you. You were gonna go, period. But I
Right.
look back at I look back at all of those times and I'm just like, it was for a reason. You know what I mean? It just wasn't my time yet for the Most High. And I like how you made mention of that shift, like from that 2016. I say from like 2016 to 2020, bro. It was definitely a heavy shift, and you just start seeing like this influx of all these brothers and sisters, coming into this knowledge, of the Most High, being Israelites. I think that's really where it first starts, honestly. I'm saying, like coming into, like, even you said like how you and your mom, what I'm saying, like without even having like all of the knowledge yet, you were just like, yo, we're the Israelites, and that's really where it all begins, is the identity aspect. And I know you did the mixtape, identity theft and what have
Right.
you, but that's
Right.
really where it begins, what I'm saying, coming into the knowledge of your heritage,
Mhm.
that you come from a seed line of royalty and kings and priests and stuff like that. And from there, it's just like I said, a continual, ongoing journey of accumulating more knowledge, more wisdom, more understanding, as we're in this faith. But yeah, just circling back real quick to, I know you said that, you, we're obviously, in a household, modern Christian driven and what have you. And you said your pops was a pastor, correct?
My grandfather wasn't. Yes, my father also became one. Yes, that's correct.
Wow, wow, okay. So see, it passes down, all right, generation to generation. So, I mean, being that your father and your grandfather were both pastors, how significant of an impact do you feel like that's had on you, and how you're able to serve the Most High with the various ministries that He's given you?
Absolutely. Well, I'll definitely say this. My father is extremely present. He actually recently, um, got his pastoral degree, so to speak. And that's more so for, I would say, maneuverability, right? There's certain ceremonies that you can be able to do. A lot of the, again, modern doctrine that's not necessarily biblical, he doesn't subscribe to, but that's actually, again, for him to be able to do certain things, as we may talk about this later, but if not, we have a ministry in Haiti also that we're doing. And so even with that, there's certain access that he's able to have, but be able to do it in a righteous kingdom way. But with my father, like I said, who was a staple in my life, even before he became a pastor, he modeled what a biblical man was for me, right? And he always made sure that we were raised up in the word to the best of his knowledge and understanding, and always gave us the freedom, right? I have two siblings as well, gave us the freedom uh to always put truth above all things, right? Obviously, we honor our father and our mother, but it was a level of like, go read it for yourself too, right? And then bring it back to me and let me know what you see here. And of course, as we got older, the conversation became more in depth versus when you're talking to a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old. And there's really not really a back and forth there because the child doesn't have much information. But with that said, above all else, I always wanted to be a man of the Most High. Now, again, my knowledge and the scope of knowledge was different based on my age and the experience and the walk, my personal relationship with the Heavenly Father. But I can never say that, even as basketball was huge for me, that I ever identified that as my identity, right? My number one thing was I always saw that it's important to be a man of the Most High. And as I kind of got older, I saw really the influence that my grandfather had in his community, which again, I wasn't necessarily aware of in the forefront, but how people appreciated him for the sacrifice, where uh, he actually served 50 years in ministry and they honored him with an honorary doctorate degree because he was so entrenched in the community for 50 years of selfless servitude to his community, both in Haiti and in America, right? So seeing my mom and them model a family of what it looked like gave me the platform that we see the patriarchs actually spring from, that gave me an advantage really to say, okay, this is a platform where there's certain things I may not have to heal from or have to figure out because I was kind of born into it. And I can launch from there in what I like to call really a prophetic mantle. Not saying I'm a prophet, but that the Holy Spirit, right, can come upon me. And like you said, now work in me being a vessel to cultivate certain gifts in me and really exude and multiply those things. This time I didn't have to waste relearning certain subjects and certain topics and certain scenarios. So seeing those things was definitely uh beneficial, and I hope to model those things for my future family, because as we see biblically, even Deuteronomy 28, which a lot of times we identify our people as, is really the breaking down of a nation, but down to the subatomic level, the family and the man and the woman and individual is just generational curses perpetuating itself on the kingdom level, the nation level, the tribal level, and on the familial level, right? And so repenting from those things, I believe, is a generational work. And there's certain things that I never had to work on, and certain things that I will have to work on for the next generation to come. But as you said, that did launch me to do that. I started music. I said that The Rock inspired me to rap when I understood I was a Hebrew, but my pops is the one who pushed me with my gifts and said, rap, like you could do this. And he was like, I'm gonna buy you a studio one day. And I'm like, yo, for real? He's like, I'm serious. Like, I'm not even joking. And I'm like, oh, like at that time, it wasn't even really a thought. And people wasn't really still being independent artists quite yet. That's even still a little bit new and modern. So I didn't know that was the thing. And he was the one who, in a lot of ways, made me feel like, yo, you could do this for real. And that was something from birth. So now that he definitely has been inspirational. And so, yeah.
All praises. And I like how you said that you mentioned how your pops was a staple for you. Like, I don't think, people quite understand how important that is for a young man, coming up in his earlier years. Everything, because it's like everything that you're exposed to, you're just absorbing like a sponge, what I'm saying, at a young age. Those young ages, at a young age, like, I'd say honestly, from an infant up until about when maybe 18 years old. I was
Yeah,
gonna say, infant to 7 years old, especially, but those years are so crucial though, bro. And for
absolutely.
a young man coming up, he needs his father desperately. You know what I'm saying? He needs that guidance, he needs that ongoing, wisdom imparted onto him. You know what I'm saying? So that way he knows how to, navigate himself, you know, um, productively, in life. We already know what the scripture says. I forgot, it's escaping me, the chapter and verse in Proverbs where it says to train up a child in the way in which he should go. So when they get older, they won't turn from it. You know what I mean? Those
Right.
years are crucial. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And the example that your parents set for you is very much going to reflect in how you behave in your older years. So just from what it sounds like to me, what I'm saying, your father very much did a great job at raising you up, the way in which you needed to go. And obviously those things haven't escaped you because you know you're embodying it to this day. And the fact that the Most High is guiding your walk, it's just even more amplified on top of that. You know what I
absolutely.
mean? But just going to the what is it, into the music. So all right, you said you started your music ministry in senior year. That's when you became Do It for the Nation. You said you saw some of the clips that The Rock, we already know what The Rock was doing like around the 2019 period.
Right,
Even in
right.
2019, like that was an explosive years, because that's when I
It
started getting
was.
back into, yeah, that's when I started getting back into music as well, because I had left the music alone for a while. You know what I mean? But the Most High, for some reason, he was just putting it on my spirit. Because like once you come into the realization, bro, like that, of what you really have to do to ascend to the highest levels of fame and really obtain that success, it's just like it doesn't really come across as appealing as it once did. Because it's just like,
Facts.
well, if that's what I have to do, then shoot, I'm done. I mean, like I
Yeah,
don't really want no parts of it. Like, what's the point? It's not really
right.
much of a purpose. You know what I mean? But Most High, he has to quickly, give you a reality check. No, it does have a purpose. The purpose is not to be on the limelight and mingle with the stars and what so on and so forth.
Yeah,
Use it to serve me, use it for me. I'm saying, use your voice that I gave you for me, give it back. Like that's why I like I mean, I mean, of course, you're familiar with Hezekiah. You guys have made music with each other. What I'm
yeah,
saying? I've heard some of Hezekiah's interviews, and he talks about how just give it back to the father. What I'm saying? Like that's one of the reasons why his music is so powerful, and he's able to really touch, the souls of the listeners, is because he's not doing it for himself. What I'm saying? Like he's literally just everything from the voice, what I'm saying, the raw energy, the power, what I'm saying, the zeal, everything. He's just taking everything that the Most High has given him and just giving it back to the Father. You know what I mean? And though, that's pretty much the same logic, in which, why the Most High was putting it on my spirit to get back into making the music as well. But obviously, I'm not the only one. I'm just like a drop in a bucket. You know what I mean? Because a lot of brothers and sisters around that 2019, I'd say like 2018, maybe even before then, but definitely saw a huge burst, a
yeah.
heavy burst in like the 2019 year. You know what I'm saying? Where you have a lot of brothers and sisters, coming into this thing, they're making this music. Um, and like I said, just the awareness of self, of identity, like who we are as Israelites, is just so saturated in the ether and whatnot. And it was like I said, it was a beautiful time. But just going back to what I was going to ask you, for you, at that time, now you're okay, you do it for the nation. Now you're getting ready to make this music, and you're getting ready to uplift the people, wake up our people, and to who coming into the knowledge of like who they are. Um like was there a certain what you call it, what's the word I'm looking for, like did you already like have it in mind, like how you were going to exactly like 100% like execute that, or were you just kind of like just, I don't know, kind of like just just looking to see like if something sticks, you know what I mean? Because you already got the name, but did you have like a thorough plan, like okay, I'm gonna do this, all right, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna reach out to this person and what have you, like I'm gonna come out with some albums or what have you, like what was really the thought process with that?
Man, that's a great question. At first, not at all. Honestly, if I'm being honest, I don't even know how I came up with the name "Do for the Nation." Like, I have my regular name Gabriel as my Instagram handle, and I'm like, again, this kind of me changing this name represents something because even at that time, like I said, the Instagram presence, who for me, what I was aware of, the YouTube presence really was two groups. It was like a lot of older individuals, men and women, who were teaching, and then you had the camps, which some camps were teaching good doctrine, some of them, not so much. And so, but the youth, I wasn't familiar with the Israelite youth, right? Like I was just watching people who were 20, 30, 40, 50 years older than me, right? And so when I came on Instagram, even my algorithm, even though that term wasn't popular at that time, was really sports and my friends from school. And so I'm like, okay, this me changing this name, even the term of calling yourself Israelite, which still is, but at that point was very not only taboo, it was strange. Like nobody even knew really what we were talking about quite yet. And so I'm like, Father, I want this to be kind of a symbol to you, just for you to know, like, I'm not afraid to represent your fact that you're showing me this, right? It was bigger than just my bloodline. Like, I want you to know, Father, that if this is what your word is really saying, or an aspect of what it's really saying, I want people to be able to see that I'm not hiding and tiptoeing, in anything. And if people want to talk about it, let's talk about it. If it's going to bring biblical discussion, let's do it. And so for me, it was beautiful to be a part of something, right? It was beautiful to be a part of a nation, of something. And even from a young age, I always had that idea. I used to look at our labels of so-called African American and so-called Haitian, and I used to literally say, as a joke, but in a way, my young mind, probably like around 10 years old, I used to say, yo, LeBron is basically my cousin. Like, we low-key from the same bloodline. And this is me being of Haitian descent. And he's of African American descent. And I didn't understand, obviously, how the bloodline spreads out over time. But I'm like, yo, we came on the same ships. Like, we family somewhere down the line, and I used to say stuff like that. And so
Mhm.
now to be like, yo, the most I took 12 sons and literally made a whole nation out of them. Like, all right, we're doing this for the nation. And I felt like I had a little bit of a platform to speak up for those who couldn't speak for themselves, to give a voice to those who didn't have a voice. But in terms of being tactical, which I'm gaining a level of now, no, I didn't have that at all. And so it started with unity challenges, right? And the brother, I don't know if anybody's familiar with him, Tyrone Changes, he used to put those together and host them. And it was just dope for me seeing everybody come together. And I think the first ever one that they did, I missed it. I was not involved with the Instagram Israelite community at that point. I might have missed even two. And they did a t-shirt, and I'm like, yo, this shirt is dope. Like, they got all the artists on there. I would love to be a part of this. So when I came, people just felt the raw zeal that the Most High put in me. And they were literally legit freestyles. There was one or two that I wrote, but after a while, I'm like, one, they showed so much love, and that did something for me too, because we know how hateful the industry is and etc. But people supporting, like, man, this young brother, and you hear testimonies, and that's when it became apparent that the Holy Spirit can do a work that's greater than you. Because the freestyle weren't perfect, but you had people older than me like, yo, this inspires me. I didn't even necessarily feel it, but I want to serve the most. It ignited me to want to serve the Most High again. And then you see their children were younger than me getting involved, and then, like, man, the Most High doing something. And that's the first time I've seen the Holy Spirit go beyond my physical limitations, because some of the freestyles weren't perfect, they weren't pretty, but people was like, wow, the zeal and the fire, and I got better and better as it went on. But I had no clue that this was even going to help. I just wanted to be a part of a movement, and I'm like, wow, this is incredible. As I started getting in, and little by little, the Most High then gave me the tactfulness and the skill sets, and okay, work on this inflection. And you see my maturity and development as an artist came as I began to listen back and be like, okay, the zeal of the spirit's there, but I can get more skilled here. I can do this there. And those unity challenges really set it off. And man, it was just a wondrous work that, again, the Father knew he was going to pull these different individuals, who some of them I still haven't met in the flesh, but we were able to inspire one another to do his work.
All praises, man. And that makes a lot of sense, bro. Like, even what you just said now, like with you've only grown to be more tactful, and now you're actually starting to, somewhat hit your stride now as far as your tactfulness, now years later, as opposed to where you first, began. I'm saying? You can see the clear stark contrast, between both, of those between both of those stages, right? And I get exactly what you mean. You know what I mean? Like, as far as how you can improve in certain areas, but the biggest thing is really just starting. You know what I mean? Because you just gotta let the spirit roam with free course. You know what I'm saying? You can't you know what I'm saying? You can't what's the word I'm looking for? It's a saying in the scriptures, like, you can't contain the spirit, or you can't suffocate the spirit. I'm kind of like, just paraphrasing, but you can't
Right.
suffocate the spirit. You gotta let it roam at free course and let it do what it's going to do. And obviously you allowed it to do such, and because of that, as a result, those people that you just said, those brothers and sisters were heavily inspired by, the zeal that you were carrying, what I mean? And now, you're able to kind of like see, okay, where you can kind of improve, but you didn't let that saying, uh, analysis paralysis, what I'm saying, debilitate you or keep you from doing the inevitable. Basically, you didn't allow it to cause you to tarry, doing the work of the
Mhm.
Lord, and that's the biggest thing, honestly. You know what I'm saying? The Most High, like when He's put it on your spirit to do something, just do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not about like what you think the end result should be. At the end of the day, the Most High, like when Jeremiah, what I'm saying, when he was hesitant to speak, what I'm saying, he told him like not to be afraid of the faces of men. You know what I mean? He
Yeah.
he put his word in him, and he wanted him to, deliver, his messages and what have you. You know what I'm saying? And that's how, we pretty much have to be. When the Most High put it on your spirit to do something, like I can't count how many times Most High has done that to me. He's just downloaded something into me. Sometimes I'm just like, well, I gotta do it like this, I gotta do it like that. When really, nah, what I'm saying? Just do it. What I'm saying? Just do it, and then everything else will, it's like a domino effect. Everything will just, fall in place, as time goes on. But the biggest thing is honestly just doing it. And also to circle back to what you said, because you said that, all right, you're playing, D1, basketball, at a private school and what have you. But you said that being, this skilled ball player wasn't necessarily where it wasn't your it's not what gave you,
My
contentment
identity at the
really.
point. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
It didn't really give you contentment. It's not really who you were. When did you, or did you always realize that, or did it take like a certain point in time of you endeavoring, as a ball player, to come into that realization? Or is it just something you already knew deep down inside regardless?
That's a wonderful question. I always knew it, because no matter, and I was extremely competitive, like on a top notch level. But no matter the disappointments, no matter the triumphs, again, that root of my parents, they never let me take it to a point of an extreme, right? If I was upset, I, take your time, understand, process the information, but we're not going to allow this to allow a spirit to come over you of obsession or even depression because you lost a basketball game, right? And on the other end, okay, you won, but this doesn't make you a person of value. Maybe a skill that you have for a time being, but this is not what gives you value. So from a young age, I had always known that. Now there were times that challenged it, but I was always rooted in my identity of a man of the Most High, right? A person of family and etc. And though the world would try to shake that foundation, right, it was never toppled, and I never started off understanding, okay, my parents value me because of this, and certainly the Most High doesn't value me because of this skill set which I have, right? And so, like I said, it was a time in the season, and I enjoyed it. It was a beautiful season, but at the time, it had to come to an end. And when it happened, honestly, it was more than time, right? That's when the Most High began to transition me to ministering in another way. But as you said, or as you asked, no, it was never a thing where like, okay, this is my identity. I loved it a lot. And as I said, there was times where it was shaking and maybe I pushed it too far. And in my mind, even I was tempted with the idea of making it part of who I was rather than what I did, but it never prospered. Glory to the Most High.
All praises, and I'm glad that you were able to discern that because, and even with that competitive nature, what I'm saying, because like I said, I mean, you playing sports, I mean, it comes with the territory. There's no way
Right,
that you're going to be able to escape that. At the end of the day, you could be the most humblest, of all players on, what, regardless of what sport you're playing. You know what I'm saying? Whether
right,
it be basketball, whether it be football, baseball, hockey, soccer, whatever but that at the end of the day, you still want to win. You're not playing to take L's all day long. You
facts.
actually
Yeah,
want
yeah,
to, you want to win. You want to be at the top. Only one person, there could only be one winner. You know what I mean? So I think that it was a beautiful thing that, the Most High had your parents there to basically safeguard you, act as ceilings, if you would, to keep you from going, over the top and falling, into those pitfalls that a lot of young, people, whether it be especially young men, of course,
yeah.
but even young women as well, because like I said, it's non-discriminatory as
Right.
far as who can partake in these sports, right? But didn't allow you to fall into those pitfalls that a lot of them fall into, where they make whatever it is that they do, especially sports, they make it a part of their identity. Like if they don't make it, they feel like, okay, I'm a failure. I'm a failure at life. I'm never going to get ahead and whatnot. They put way essentially what they've done is they've put it on a pedestal. They've made it their god. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
They idolize it. You know what I mean? And that's obviously a very dangerous, position to be in. You shouldn't really be putting anything like that on a pedestal. I mean, basketball, I mean, anything really, everything in this world is all temporal. I say this stuff all the time, bro. It's fleeting. It's not going to last. It's not forever. There's only one thing that's forever, for eternity, and that is, the kingdom of heaven. So the fact that, you were able to make that distinction that, at that time, once again, wisdom beyond years, what I'm saying? Because a lot of people, they don't quite grasp that. What I mean? It
Yeah.
takes them some time to really grasp that. And some, unfortunately, they never really do grasp that. What I mean? They spend their whole entire life, chasing contentment in fleeting things, what I'm saying? Not realizing that I mean, it is what I pretty much just said it is. It's fleeting, dude. Like it's all vanity. You know what I mean? And so I mean, all glory to the Most High for sure that he was able to protect you from that. But I know that there, because I think I know on your YouTube page, you had this thing called Cooking for the Kingdom, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, man. I saw it because I didn't realize that you actually up until that video I didn't realize that you actually were a hooper, and obviously now you've just expounded a lot more on that period of your life, when you were on the court and whatnot. But when I did saw the video, I was like, oh shoot, okay, what I'm saying, bro's like heating up, and I'm just like, and that's the thing about it, bro, because I remember I had my phase too, where I was heavily in basketball mode. I never really actually like played like for like a team or anything like that. But I mean,
Right.
I would spend so many days, what I'm saying, hours and hours and hours on end, just playing a lot of pickup and
Right.
21 and stuff like
Yeah.
that, horse, and what I'm saying, just a lot of sessions, on my own, just really working my shot, really trying to get my 3-point shot on point, my jump shot,
Hmm.
just working on all facets of
Yeah.
my game. And even to this day, I ain't gonna lie, bro, like, and I kind of saw it with you in the Cooking for the Kingdom video, like all that time, all that training, like it's still there. It's like muscle man. It's like riding a bike, you know what I'm saying?
Nah,
Like it
that's
just hasn't
facts.
escaped. You know what I mean? um but just keeping on the music though, was so like you always like into making music, especially like rap? Were you always rapping like from a very, very young age? Or was that another thing that, the Most High, revealed to you that he wanted you to do as a means of serving him in this faith?
Yeah, so I've always been musically inclined. It's funny again how kind of season shift. My whole family is musically inclined. Both grandfathers played, the guitar. One of my grandfathers can touch every instrument and do something. Trumpet, keyboard, guitar, trumpet. I said trumpet already, saxophone.
Hmm.
Like I mean, you name it, he can touch it. My mom was like an excellent, not even was, she still is an excellent pianist. My dad can touch the keys and the guitar. He touched the trumpet a little bit. I got an uncle who plays the guitar, another one who's a beast at the bass. I never got to hear him play. A lot of singers in the family. Like I come from a bloodline of musicians. Um, and so I used to try to again sing, but my voice was never, it was missing that divine spark. So I used to write or write in my head. I wouldn't physically write. And I always did have an inclination to rap, because of the influence of that genre. So I used to freestyle in fifth grade, just off the top. It started with freestyling, but I never wrote, never really did no official production. I myself tried piano, tried guitar as well, but never finished. But I can still touch the keys a little bit. Um, and like I said, so fifth grade freestyle, in sixth grade, I started getting popular in school just for like, silly stuff. Like I wouldn't even be serious. I just mix words and whatever, and people would laugh. It was more comedic than anything, but I had a little bit of a skill. So then when the soul, what's the name of that challenge? I'm trying to remember. I think I was in eighth or ninth grade. The soul Brooklyn challenge, I think it was. Oh no, it was one before that. I don't remember, but it was like athletes were doing it. I forgot the name of the challenge, and I posted it on YouTube, and I just showed it to my parents, and they were like, again, it was a joke, but it was solid, and they're like, yo, this joint is nice, like okay. And then there was a trip where I was driving to New York visiting family. My family, a lot of my family's in New York, and I went on a Nas beat, And now I look back, I'm like, that thing was all right because I'm judging it by me now, but it was pretty decent. And that's when my dad was like, he's showing it to the family, and they're like, yo, this is crazy. Like raw talent. It's not like you putting in 10 hours a week with this. You just pulled this off the top. Like this is crazy. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when he was like, I'll buy you a studio. And I'm like, what? You serious? I'm thinking he's joking. And he's like, nah, I'm gonna buy you one. So at that point, it was a few months, probably close to a year before he bought me the studio. But I'm writing stuff. It's not that great, but I'm writing. I stopped freestyling at that point and I started writing. Um, and well, even before that, that freestyle that I did, I tried to turn into a song, and he kept pushing me and teaching me how to do inflections and teach me how to do this and that. And it got frustrating, so I kind of stuck back from that. But I started writing again. And then, like I said, when I came into okay, we're Israel, and okay, well, there's a certain way to actually serve the Father that's pleasing to Him. I was like, all right, I'm gonna set this to the side because I just want to focus on that. And then, so that's kind of what we transitioned into, like I said, 2019, 2020, where I started the freestyles again, and then freestyles turned into writing. So I just kept flipping back and forth in my life between freestyles off the top and writing, and then off the top and writing. But even now, when I record songs, I don't write on my phone or in a notebook. I punch in and just literally will just start going. You wouldn't believe the number of songs that not only do I punch in, like I'll take a whole 30 or 40-second section and just freestyle off the top, and it will just sound good. And the most I'll be like, yeah, keep that. So it's definitely interesting. But yeah, yeah,
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I know we living in the punching era right now, man. I
right,
know
right.
quite a bit of brethren. Yeah, I know quite a bit of brethren who does, the punching thing as well. And so when your pops brought you to the studio, like did you just immediately just go right in and just start like, knocking out songs, or was it kind of like a slow but gradual process?
That's a great question because if you ask him, he gonna laugh too. I did not touch that joint for like 8 months, bro. Like I think I was intimidated with the software and everything. I didn't know where to start, and so he's like, "Yo, I bought you this thing, and you're not touching it at all. Like, when am I gonna get something from this, bro? Like, did I waste my money?" And I was intimidated. I didn't know the software. I didn't know how to plug in the hardware. I didn't know what I was looking at. And again, it was kind of like an edge where at that time, YouTube, the information was there, but you see now you don't know something. You just look it up because you know it's going to be there. And you see AI engines will bring up the information even faster. But at that time, still, like, I feel like the vibe of the world was like YouTube wasn't necessarily the place to go for legitimate information. So I was intimidated with that. And I'm like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. So it took me forever. But once I did start, bro, if I show you my old door, like my old digital audio workstation, it's got tens, if not hundreds, 100 songs that I've never released of old stuff, me trying stuff that even now I'm like, wow, this is fire. But I would have to remix this. Like once I did get going, it was flowing like crazy. And that's when I kind of narrowed it down to the 12 for identity theft. But there was so many songs that either didn't have the same theme or the same vibe. But it's a lot of stuff in it. I'm like, man, Father, again, the skill set wasn't always as sharp, but you was working with me.
All praises, man. And it's just inspiring hearing, that transformation process, you know what I mean? And, even you just said like, in your old dog, like there's tens, hundreds of songs, that you haven't even released yet. Like people don't quite understand, bro. Like that's the process, man. That's the process. Like just keep, if you want to use the analogy of like, basketball, right? You know what I'm saying? That's like, Kobe, you know what I'm saying, in his playing days, just off off camera, you know what I'm saying, to himself, just putting in work on the court, just him alone, no trainer, no nothing. It's just him, the ball and the court. That's it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's pretty much like what those recorded, tracks, that you haven't put out are pretty much like. It's just you putting those reps in, you know what I'm saying, refining your craft, you know what I'm saying, this gift that the Most High has given you, you know what I'm saying, you're just sharpening it up. And what you also did was, because I know you said you preserved um 12 of those tracks, right? You salvaged 12 of those tracks for the identity theft mixtape that you dropped some years back. You know what I'm saying? That's what you call quality control. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That's what people don't realize. That's what actual mainstream artists, do. Before mainstream artists, before they release these, these projects and whatnot, like these albums or EPs or what have you. Actually, I don't even think mainstream artists really release, because like, what's the point of releasing an EP anymore? You know what I'm saying? It's really more so, yeah, it's really more so just like full length albums, but or even mixtapes. But yeah, before they put those things out, man, it's, bro, like, I can't speak for all, but I know that it is, a common thing to like record like as much songs as you can. You know what I mean? So that way you can like weed out from that pool of songs that you recorded the most quality ones. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? The ones that are going to have the most impact, that are going to hit the hardest. You know what I mean? And that sounds the best also. And, also fits the overarching conceptualization or narrative that you're trying to drive home, with that project. And that's pretty much, what you were able to do, with identity that I'm very much glad that you did, because like I said, it was worth every single listen. You took your time with
Mhm.
that. And I think that did a great job at the Most High through you conveying, the message that you're ultimately trying to convey to the people who listen to it. It was very well executed. But just going back to like the mixing and stuff like that, like, cause even me myself, I mean, when I first started out, getting back into the music and whatnot, dude, I was just making songs on my phone, bro, like on
Mhm.
GarageBand, on the
Mhm.
iPhone and stuff like that. Like, I had no inkling on how to properly really record or properly mix. Like, even this little pop shield that you see in front of me, I didn't even have that, dude. This microphone, I have none of that. I was just recording
Yeah.
strictly through the phone. I had to do a DIY, a do it yourself pop shield, you know what I'm saying, just to catch a lot of those plosives and stuff like that. Like, a lot of my older songs, bro, like you can still hear like a lot of the pops and things like that, because
Yeah.
I didn't really care about that. And on top of that, I didn't have an
Right.
inkling on how to really do any of those things anyways.
Right. Right.
Mixing, mastering, what is that? You know what I'm saying? It's foreign to me, dude. But one thing that was there, you know what I'm saying, and we talked about this earlier, bro, was the lack of analysis paralysis. That wasn't there. And it was more zeal driven than anything else. And that literally was what set or what really got the ball rolling. But over time, okay, now, all right, let's now start sitting down and start, familiarizing ourselves with a lot of these important things that are needed to actually put something out that's not only spiritually substantive, but also it's on that level of sonic quality and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? So let's learn about how to properly record, get our levels right, mix, what I'm saying, like, pan, what I'm saying, how to work, EQ, compression, master, making sure that it sounds good on for distribution, what I'm saying, once we finally put it out. That's
Facts.
those, yeah, those things came, after the fact. But speaking of DAWs, what DAW do you record in now?
So now I'm in Pro Tools. And that kind of took me a little off track because I had to relearn everything and kind of move around. And I'm just starting to get nice with moving around quickly. But yeah, I'm in Pro Tools right now.
Okay, so before then, you were using what, like FL,
Studio
Logic,
Studio One.
Studio One?
Yeah,
Oh wow,
bro.
okay. Because people I know they rate Studio One as like the top three. I'd say is Logic Pro and Studio One for sure. FL I know is one of the go to for like beat makers and
Producers.
stuff like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Um, mhm.
I mean, they consider Pro Tools like the industry standard, even though that term is kind of being like nobody cares about that anymore.
Nah.
That really kind of just now means if you go to like a what's the word I'm looking for? A commercial studio, you probably still find Pro Tools, but even that's changing.
Mhm,
But Studio One is really beginner friendly. But like I said, even when you didn't know what you were looking at, even that was a little bit. Now I'm looking like, wow, this is really user friendly for sure.
mhm.
But I guess I don't know. At that point, I was still kind of intermediary when I switched to Pro Tools. I was like, I guess I want to get these plugins, and there's a few Pro Tool native plugins, but I could have got uh, what's the Wave, not Wave plugins. I forgot the plugin set that I bought and just plugged that in Studio One. But I'm not mad at it honestly. I'm cool with Pro Tools.
No, you good, bro. I mean, like I said, even me myself, I made that migration to Pro Tools. Actually just about like a year ago, because we already mentioned them earlier, Demon Slayer, shouts out to the
Yeah,
brother, I'm saying, he
salute.
was the one. But even another bro of mine's uh, D Nice, I'm saying, like, that's my bro too, man.
Okay.
um you know I'd say those were like the two main voices in my ear that really was encouraging me to, like, use Pro Tools, just talking so much about like how good it sounds and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because me, I was more Logic based, and I still am, Logic based. I
Okay.
still do use Logic. I still got
Okay.
that very much in my back pocket. I mean, even now more than ever. What I'm saying, because Avid, just some of the territory that they're going in, especially with the subscription based stuff.
Oh
You
my
know what I mean?
gosh.
Yeah, Logic. Like I said, it's a must. I got to keep it around, um, but yeah, they'll just tell me about how good Pro Tools sound and whatnot. And now that I actually have gotten more familiarized with it, I've gotten my fair share of reps in. Like, I see why people would say, or why people would flock to Pro Tools, because the sound engine is really good, man. It's really good.
Mhm.
I mean, I love the way it sounds. It sounds like you. That's what I always say. It sounds literally like you. Everything just sounds
No, that's
very
nice.
yeah, very natural. It doesn't color the sound in an undesirable way or whatnot. It just comes out sounding like you. And for that,
Yeah,
I give Avid a A+, but that subscription based, yeah, they gotta cut that out, bro.
it's
They gotta cut that
ridiculous.
out,
It's
man.
ridiculous.
You know. But but yeah, so I mean all praises, that you've been able to get your hand on some, quality music production, gear, whether it be hardware, software. What mic do you record with? Or do you record with that same mic that you're speaking through right now?
No, no, no. This one is actually it's pretty cheap. This mic is pretty cheap. I think I got this off of Amazon because I just wanted to test out the podcasting.
Hmm.
Um, and I didn't have money at that time to really invest in anything too crazy. But
Hmm.
because I recorded out of OBS, you can essentially mix through the software, and the mic will sound pretty solid. But I record with an NT1. I think it's a Rode, but yeah, it's an NT1 mic. I think I
Hmm.
dropped like 600 on that. At that time, they had a sale. I mean, the sound is crystal clear. It really is because my studio is not really soundproof, but it is basically, I think they call it a cardiac mic.
Hmm.
So it essentially just takes in the majority of it from the front. It kind of blocks out the background noise for the most part, and
Yeah,
then it
yeah.
gives me a nice, easy job in mixing and mastering.
All praises, yeah, because I've heard some good reviews on the NT1. It's actually one of the quietest self-making like it makes a lot, it makes the less self noise of most mics out there on the market. And for
Yeah,
$600, that's actually a pretty good price. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Because I know some people, they think that they have to spend like a rack or over a rack to get a quality mic. That couldn't be further from the truth, dude. That's
right.
just like that here you said, Pro Tools, the industry standard thing, like how that's
Yeah,
so overly glamorized and overrated.
right.
It's the same thing with microphones. You do not need to drop a rack or more to get a
Nah,
quality microphone, dude. You can get a quality mic for way less than that. You know what I
thanks.
mean? But anyways, all right. So I mean, now that we've gotten the chance to talk about the the music and what have you, now I guess we can start pivoting to another ministry that the Most High has allowed you to immerse yourself in, that being podcasting. Yeah, you do. For those who don't know, the brother Ben Cole, he does have his podcast, titled Liberty. I've been able to check out quite a bit of them, and I have to say, I am definitely impressed. What I'm saying, with a lot of what the Most High put on your spirit to impart upon the people, message wise, the way in which you're able to deliver it with such precision of speech, such fluidity. I mean, how does it feel, or how did it feel, when the Most High put that on your spirit, and once you were finally able to roll that out?
Man, so even that kind of came around in an interesting way, and I appreciate that as well. And I haven't been able to post on there in a while. Just so many things going on in life. So for those of you who go, you may see that it's been a while since I posted, but most high willing, we will be getting back to it. But with that said, the Most High will humble you, before anything. Or that's always been my prayer. I've always prayed to Him, Most High, I would rather you knock me down than me rise and feel like I'm doing well and I'm displeasing you. Right? We know we're supposed to,
Mm,
with fear and trembling, work out our own salvation. But I've always prayed to Him, Most High, before I be deceived, let everything in my life fail, just so I know, like, okay, this is not what you want me doing. And what I noticed is I was talking to a brother, which was like the final confirmation, but I'll bring it back a little bit. I was in fifth grade one time and I made a joke about a teacher, and it wasn't even nothing crazy, honestly. I think she might have miscut, like cutting, when you cut lines and stuff on the paper to cut shapes out or whatever it was. I don't know what it was. And I
mm,
made a joke and I'm like, yo, everybody feels everybody feels sometimes. And I'm like, nah, it's like there's just you. Now, granted, like, it's a teacher, you know what I'm saying? So you should be respectful. But her face was like offended, bro. Like on a
right.
different level. Like she was genuinely hurt that a child said this to her. And I'm looking like, yo, I didn't even mean nothing by that. Like, what is we doing? Like, why are you so upset? And I've had mad experiences like that. Um, I had an experience when I was in 12th grade when I was a senior, and the teacher was, talking to me disrespectful. And I said, yo, I'm a man just like you. Like, talk to me with respect. I don't even got to, mind you, the whole class was acting up. But my point was, just talk to me with respect. I got you. You know what I'm saying? I understand. And he
Yeah.
came back and he apologized to me. And he said, yo, bro, like, I apologize, bro. You have such influence in the class. I figured if I could get you to relax, I would get the rest of the class. And I said, no, I understand that. But it's just the tone that you came at to me. If I wasn't your student, you wouldn't talk to me like that. And so I had that experience. And I was talking to a brother one time, and he's like, yo, the Most High bless your voice. And I don't know if he was talking about the music or he was talking about my voice in general. And I'm like, man, when people hear me for better or worse, they're affected. And who am I to use the gift the Most High gave me for evil? That's blasphemy, basically, bro. Like, how am I going to take what he gave and use it to harm people, tear them down, etc., when I could use the same voice and the same mouth and speak blessings and speak wholeness and speak healing? Or when I'm speaking the truth of the Most High, it may have an effect in a way that I don't even know. And it's not like, again, it wasn't a skill that I thought I had. I would just speak. Like, sometimes I'm saying stuff and people are like, yo, that's deep, or that's it, bro. And I'm like, what did I say? I'm just talking, right? And so I came up with the name Liberty, because I love Isaiah chapter 61. That's my middle name, Isaiah. But that's essentially the root of the good news of the kingdom, right? The Most High has put His Spirit upon me to preach good news to the meek, and liberty to the captives, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, even if not physically, the spiritual captivity that our people are in is causing us to sin, which puts us in bondage in every other root. And if he can speak through me over these airways to the masses, we don't know who will be set free, because if we're the body of Messiah, then we be in the hands and the feet and the knees and etc. We got to be out there doing the work which his mind, which is Christ, has called us to do. And so I'm like, man, if I could get on this platform and reach people on subjects that they may think they'll never hear the word about, and put the word in there, we don't know who can be set free, because it's not us that does the setting free. He who the Son of Man sets free is free indeed. But we know that there are people who have the gift of exhortation or encouragement. We have people who wax bold when the Spirit comes upon them, and it affects people in a way, just like people have the gift of laying hands and etc., and so many other things. And so even with that, part of the liberty ministry is to encourage others to use their gifts, because then that's a multiplying factor. If by me using my gift encourage you to use your gift and you encourage that, we don't know who's going to be sealed and who's going to be gathered as an elect. And we just trying to be a part of the harvest. The word says to pray for more. And so that happened by having an epiphany. It's like, man, I used to want, I'm like, yo, everybody else could talk slick, but when I do it, everyone gets upset or whatever. But again, that's a very pride and ignorant way to look at a gift he gave you. It's like if the Most High bless you with super strength and you like, why nobody want to play tackle football with me? Like, that's a selfish way to look at it versus using that in order to minister to others. And even though the scripture says that gifts are without repentance, meaning the Most High may not take it away, that's all the more dangerous, because you can operate in a power and you're still going to give him the glory, but you won't even inherit the salvation which Christ died for you to have, because now you're walking in it within pride, which is why we see the wicked prospering in their gifts without acknowledging the creator who gave it to them, so.
Yeah, that's true. That's very, very true. And that's a very profound way of looking at that. And once again, it's just, wise to, well, it's a beautiful thing that you're wise enough to understand that, you know what I mean? And as a result of that, you're cautious about how, you use those gifts, because life or death, hey, it lies in the tongue. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like I said, you gotta be very careful about what you put out, very careful about, what you're saying and to whom, because you just don't know what kind of impact that's really going to have on the individual. So, it's a beautiful thing that, once again, you're aware of how, potent the gifts that the Most High has given you are, and always to be mindful of using it for, his will and his will, only, to glorify him. Right. Um, and speaking about that, because I know you did make mention of it, and I did get the chance to listen to some of the tracks. It was actually I think it was two tracks you made out of this, the Dirty Rags. You know what I mean? Like that like I said, man, it was a nice display of honesty. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because who would really be willing to put something out like that? You know what I'm saying? Like truly feeling, repenting, like repentive, and they want to talk about like why you shouldn't operate in this capacity. Like when did, like, what really drove you? Like, what was that moment where it's just like, yo, like I gotta speak about this, I gotta put this out on wax? Because I remember
Mhm.
just going back to Demon Slayer one more time, he actually was the one who sent me that track. I think it was
Yeah.
part two. Yeah, part two. That's the one that he sent me. But of course, I listened to both parts. But
Yeah.
what was that like, oh my gosh, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, I'm going off, you know what I'm saying? I gotta confess and I gotta forsake.
Oh man, that's a really good question, bro. The Most High literally came to me and said, "You either doing this for the clout, or you doing this to serve me, right? It's cool to talk about you the people. It's cool to talk about this and that and the other. That's good. right? I
Hmm.
gave you those messages, but when I give you this, what you gonna do? What about this struggle of pride, which again, I'm sure other people, because for me, bro, I felt on top of the world, bro. You telling me these people, the covenant is my ancestors? Like, yo, you can't tell me nothing. But I was listening to a message just the other day. Somebody was preaching, bro. This walk is supposed to yield the fruit of repentance, bro. We're supposed to be sorrowful for what we did. And yes, through the restoration of his spirit, we receive joy. But we gotta first look ourselves in the mirror and be like, yo, we killed his son. Like he sent his son unto us. And we, as a consensus, even if you want to take the leadership of the people, which spoke for the people, said, yeah, let his blood be on us and our children. That alone, never mind, let's go back all the thousands of years of sin, of adultery, of playing the Most High. Like, what are we talking about? So you prideful because of this, but I'm showing you this to show the world what it looks like to be repentant. And if you have a voice and a gift and a skill set to tell the people that y'all not supposed to be going out in pride and boasting on this, that's what's tainting this awakening of you guys back to me, is the fact that y'all thinking this is about you when I'm the main character, right? And so he
Mm.
said, is your personal struggle and keeping it private more important? Are you about protecting your image or are you about glorifying me? That's literally what he said to me, right? Summarizing. And I'm like, it don't feel good. But you know what? Even if there's a level of shame, even if people would have screwed now, because I did expect that. I was like, yo, I don't know what can happen. People might be like, yo, do it for nation. Of course, we don't go out and just, and there's a level of wisdom. We don't just put out every personal struggle we have out there. There's a level of wisdom because we know that you can give people ammunition that they don't deserve. And it can even become clout chasing to put everything out there and make everything a ministry of confession for the sake of everyone coddling you and be like, oh, you're so holy, bro. Thank you for sharing. People do that too. But for me in that time, I know for my spirit, I needed it to understand, yo, you got to confess. And yes, you repented behind the scenes, but now this made 8 brothers and sisters. So then we got to Dirty Rack Part 2, and it was the same thing. Most I was like, it's that time again. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Because the beat for that, I had a whole different plan. I'm like, oh, I'm about to go off on this track. And he like, nah, that's not the theme for this. Talk about how, yeah, the first part, yeah, you were struggling with pride in terms of knowing who you are. But now you feel like you should get more numbers than you have. You even looking at some of brothers' numbers and man, like, yo, I should be on that level. I'm just as nice. Or you trying to strategically collab with people because you know, oh, this will bring my numbers up. That's a level of insincerity. And those levels of transparency, it was difficult. But first, you got to look at yourself and understand that. And as the scripture says, little children don't sin, but if you sin, you have an advocate with Messiah the righteous. And if he calls you clean, can't nobody else condemn you. But now, my son, this is going to be used for my glory. This is not about your glory. It ain't about how nice you are. It ain't about how good your tracks are or what subject matter you talk about that makes people want to listen. Nah, you're my mouthpiece. So right now, you got to talk about these two subjects. And the way it happened, I'm just like, all right. And his spirit pressed upon me to the point where he caused me to surrender.
Wow. Okay. And being, that, those events, took place in the Most High, obviously put on your spirit to, bring those tracks together. Um, Looking at it now in retrospect, do you still sometimes feel like that? Like even like if we just want to go into like part two, you know what I'm saying? Like the temptation of, comparing yourself to, other brothers, what I'm saying, in their numbers and stuff like that, and perhaps you know working with certain individuals, just to get statistics up and what have you. Like, is that something that the enemy still tries to nudge at you with, to throw you off?
Right. That's a great question. And honestly, from the point that I dropped part two till now, there was various seasons where it happened. I'm now at a status, and I always say this, it says the enemy leaveth for a season, right? But he can come back and try you again. I'm in a place where I'm very satisfied because after I dropped Dirty Rag Part 1, I forgot to say this, a door of spiritual warfare was open that I had never seen before. After dropping Dirty Rag 1, I wanted to quit. I promise you, that was my first song. I was ready to quit that day. Bro, my mind was like, bro, it's as if the floodgates of spiritual warfare was open. And I think even with that, the most I was like, yeah, you don't know what a brother sister going through when they drop this stuff. You don't know what they're fighting with and how they have to keep their walk pure because the enemy's just looking for a reason to trip them up, knowing how many people listen to them. And so it became less about the numbers and truly about You don't know who you're gonna touch. You can't be more than he made you to be. That's something that I'm really comfortable in now. It's like, bro, it doesn't matter how you try to configure yourself. He puts yourself in this world for a reason. You can lie to yourself and in your mind tell yourself, well, if I just did this or did that, but you can't even escape. You can't configure yourself outside of The other day I saw this example, not to go too off topic, but somebody said they made a meme where it was like mankind boasting to the Most High that they can now make mankind like human beings out of cloning or out of dirt. And the Most High responded to them, okay, but do it without my dirt. Like we cannot make anything outside of everything he's already supplied us with. So the vision of yourself that you think you're exalting yourself in, you can't even reach that unless he gives you permission. And if you do it outside his will, you're bugging. So be whatever he told you to be. David was able to say, if I could be in your kingdom as a doorman, but I'm in your kingdom, that's what I'll be. And at this point, I'm really content and I'm more reserved with who I collab with. Big numbers, small numbers, that don't matter because he had to humble me to a state where it's like, bro, you can't be anything else what he made you to be. And if it's his will that you blow up, you blow up. But if it's not, it's not. In either way, the contentment is that you're in his will. But it did take time. There were seasons where the thought would come, and I got stronger by taking those thoughts captive to the obedience of Mashiach, as Second or First Corinthians tells us to do. Right. So as I
Mhm.
grew in the spirit and relied on him, I no longer was chasing any form of status. I just wanted to be within his will. And if he was pleased, that's all I needed.
Absolutely, and that honestly should be the ultimate goal. I mean, at the end of the day, just even if you circle back to Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verses 13 through 14, it tells us, what the whole duty of man is, which is just to fear God and keep His commandments. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
it tells us about how, God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. So, I mean, at the end of it, but the key thing is what the whole duty of man is just
Yeah.
fearing God and keeping His commandments. So it's like how you just said, how you now are in that understanding and you've finally been able to make peace with the fact that as long as you're in his will, that's all that really matters. It doesn't matter. Like, I mean, if it's his will for you to, reach a lot more people, really raise up your metrics, amplify them and whatnot, then okay, all
Yeah.
praises, it is what it is, but if not, at the end, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, as long as you're in his will, that's really truly all that matters. Whether he catapults you into that area or not, you're in his will. What I'm saying? That's the key thing that really matters. And the fact that you said, it opened up a whole new door of spiritual warfare. Like, who would have thought? Who would have thought, man? Who would have thought? But um the fact that, brothers and sisters were able to be, and that's what I'm hoping that, that's what I'm hoping was extracted, from those songs as well. Because honestly, that could have really been its own EP, just those two songs together.
Mm,
But everything is in its ordained time, right? It's divine time
right.
and what have you. So I'm just hoping that beyond anything, the message, right, that you were trying to really get across is what was extracted, especially part two, what I'm saying, with the, because even now I think that is something that our society, this generation now more than ever before, is heavily driven on metrics and chasing status and stuff like that. Unfortunately, even in the space that both of us are in, especially with the music and whatnot. But my hope is that you know the ones who do have an ear to listen, those who are meant to get it, who are meant to get the message, they are able to extract that and um, you know apply it, so that way they don't become just another statistic of somebody who's using those gifts in an unintended way, what I'm saying, or in a
Mm,
way that the Most High didn't intend for them to utilize it. So I mean, all praises that he was able to restore you from that. um
absolutely.
I guess one final question, before we actually start wrapping up things here. Is there anything that you have new on the horizon, as far as like music, podcasts, so on and so forth, maybe some who knows, merchandise or freestyles or something like that you have on the way to share with the nation?
Absolutely. Well, last night I just heard an instrumental that was incredible. So most I willing sometime this week I should be in the studio. Look forward to a new track from me. Most I willing pretty soon. Hopefully I can get in there and record that. I'm working on the album. I'm not sure how it's gonna come out. I'm looking at the configuration. Uh just trying to find new ways to reach people. In this day and age, a lot of people's attention span, even for music, is shorter. So even 12 track albums is not as popular necessarily. And I'm going to go by the spirit first and foremost, but just consulting with the Most High what He wants. Because I got like 18 to 20 tracks right now. I really have like 3 albums worth of music, but I want to configure it in a way. So I got a track, excuse me, an album I'm working on, and I don't know if I'm going to release it as singles, release it in 2 parts. I'm not sure yet. Called Love Comes From Him, and it's talking about the different various forms of love between us and the Most High, between brethren, between a man and a wife, a young man, looking for a maiden, etc. And really understanding that the Most High has a standard for everything. The devil doesn't originate nothing, right? So we see people celebrating pagan holidays, commemorating love, but it's filled with fornication and perversion, right? You see brotherly love, but it's leading your brother to sin or death, right? We see how to love the Most High, but it's in a different way, and it's really about coming into covenant. And the scripture even says, in 3 things was I beautified, the love between brethren, the love between a man and his wife, and I believe the love between neighbors, right? And that's a revelation that if we do that, then I have an album. I don't know quite the name, but it's going to be the theme of coming back to covenant and really walking in. I don't think we really value, and which is why we kind of sold it, what it really meant to have the Most High's presence in the midst of a nation, the way that it was in days of old, and how He desires to restore us and do those things again. So, taking those different various themes of love and family as the source of pure love for the Most High, and then uniting in that love as a nation, and the things that we need to fix and the things that we're gonna see when we do those things, the things we can look forward to, and how to apply it on a day-to-day basis. So it's a little vague because I'm still putting those ideas together. I'm looking at launching a website where people can get my music there, possibly merch, and things of the sort. The podcast should be launching soon, and I've been really focused on the ministry in Haiti, where we're trying to teach the people about the Most High's word and sincerity. Bringing them back to the covenant, a lot of things that they know the word a lot better than a lot of people would think, but about applying it in real life, and even they're living some of it out, a lot of the ancient ways, but they're attributing it to the creation instead of the creator. And so even with that, we're actually going to be doing like a Bible drive soon, because some of the youth, I work with the youth, um and I asked them, hey, like, what programs do y'all want to see in your community? And they say, yo, we want to do Bible study. But they don't have Bibles, so we're going to be working on that. And 3 to 5 Bibles. We could probably get them for about 20 bucks each, 20, 30 bucks. So we're going to be trying to run that and see if anybody would like to give, and just kind of really get the word of the Most High to wash their minds and their hearts so that they can start bearing the fruit, and we can start seeing, even on a small communal level, how the Spirit works when we welcome His Spirit within us. So it's a lot going on. But I praise Him for us being able to minister for the kingdom rather than chasing the things of the world, where we would be draining ourselves in death and vanity.
Absolutely, man. And it sounds like to me, the Most High definitely have you on a bright, hopeful journey. He's definitely has your hand, very much to the plow. Definitely, of course, you're not looking back, whatsoever. And just even hearing about, the community work that you're doing out in Haiti, and I know you're not doing it on your own. I know you got your, I didn't even talk about, your bro, Royal Priesthood.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I
yeah,
know
yeah.
he's definitely by your side, every step of the way, bringing a lot of what it is that the Most High has put on your hearts to bring forth, you know, ministering and endeavoring, for the kingdom of heaven, forth, in hopes to, bring, more souls, to labor in the vineyard, what I'm saying, for
Absolutely.
that one penny. So that's a beautiful thing, man. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, man. So that was pretty much the interview, you guys. As always, I appreciate y'all for support, downloading the shows and what have you. Like I said, any installment that you guys haven't heard, do yourself a just service. Go back, share it with a friend. The more you share it, the more the word spreads, and all in all, it just helps the podcast reach more people. That's what the goal is. But beyond that, of course, is to glorify the Most High. Saying with the various amounts of talent, out there, in Israel, and it's just a beautiful thing, how we're all connecting so much, in this final hour. Cole, hey man, it was a pleasure having you on, bro. Like I said, this is definitely overdue, but I'm finally glad that the Most High has, allowed it to finally happen, man. Like I said, just keep the Father first, keep pushing. He's definitely have you abounding very much prominently, in his work. Just keep doing that, bro. Stay focused, man. Keep endeavoring. And before you know it, bro, Lord willing, we'll be in the kingdom, man.
Man, my brother, I appreciate you having me on. It was an honor, a blessing. Man, I gotta tell you, I appreciate the work you do. You always tapping in on Instagram, just checking in. And the work you do is inspiring, and we need everybody in the body doing their part. So you stepping up, despite the various things of warfare that might be going on, and you establishing this ministry by faith for the Most High to be able to work through you is a blessing. I'm gonna continue to keep you in prayer. And one last thing, I have another younger brother. He's not quite out there, but he's just getting his platform going. He's on Instagram as well. You can follow him on Instagram at Malchiel, Malchiel. He got some good stuff coming in the works too. But again, thank you for having me on, and we definitely gonna keep building.
All praises. And I'm gonna be leaving the link in the description box. Not just for your streaming handles, for your music and what have you, but also your social handles as well, but also for the brother that you just mentioned. So yeah.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely. All right, brothers and sisters. Like I said, this has been Kingdom Music Reviews. Hope to speak to you guys again soon. Love y'all. Say peace and shalom.
Shalom.